We're going to call the meeting to order for May 8th, Committee of the Whole meeting. It's about 7 p.m. I see we've got some folks standing in the gallery and also in the foyer, and I just want to say we are at our maximum for the capacity of the room, so my apologies for those who are left standing. But thank you for being here this evening. I'm glad you'll be able to tune in to the discussion. Okay, so we're going to begin with any items added to the agenda, and there were 2 items previously added. One was a memo from Jason Martel, Chief Financial Officer, with a grant request from the Richmond Wildlife Association, and the second, another memo from Mr. Martel with regards to a grant request from the Lewisdale Fleur-de-Lis Senior Pensioners Club. Are there any other items to add to the agenda this evening? Okay,
Could I add a brief discussion on the sidewalk project?
Sure. Do we have,
Just to give an update and,
for staff to give an update?
no,
Or
just for me, yeah.
for you to give an
Yeah,
update?
and
Sure.
ask our Director of Public Works here to
Okay. Sidewalk project.
do something for us, please.
Yeah.
So just a brief discussion.
Okay, that sounds good. Any other items? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda. With those items added. Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. All right, the next item is the review of the minutes from April 11th, 2023. They were circulated in advance, and if there's no errors or omissions, I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes, please.
I'll approve those minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Deputy Warden. Any further discussion on the minutes from April 11th? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, so next item is the fun part of our night. I always say it's presentations. We have 2 lined up as per our maximum capacity for Committee of the Whole meetings. So the first presentation will be from Karen McTavish and Max Chauvin, consultants with Upland, regarding the Richmond Active Living Strategy and Recreation Plan. So welcome, Karen and Max, and I hope you can hear us okay.
We can hear you loud and clear, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll hand it over to you and look forward to your presentation.
You're up.
Great, so will I see the screen?
You'll share your presentation on your screen from your computer.
Oh,
They're seeing it on their screen now.
you've got it on your screen, okay.
I don't have it on my screen.
No, you need to share it.
You're able to share it with us from your computer.
Oh, okay, give me 1 sec then.
No problem.
I thought you were running it for us, 1 moment.
There we go.
Okay, sorry about that little technical moment.
No worries. We're quite used to it. If that's the worst that happens, we're winning. So you go ahead. We can see your screen now.
Okay, well, thank you to council and staff for the invitation to present tonight. And by way of intro, I'd like to start with the first slide that simply outlines that the strategy and plan is indeed a roadmap or a framework with a 10-year horizon. So some of you may feel there's an abundance of recommendations, but as I said, there is a 10-year window in which to accomplish the recommendations. Next slide. By way of plan development, it was in 3 phases. We started with the discovery, where we did an analysis of community assets. We looked at your documents, your programs, your policies, your stats, demographics, trends in Richmond. In January and February, we started the community consultation, and we heard from over 200 people in the public surveys. There was 100 individual interactions on the online map, the interactive map. We had 21 interviews and consultations with community groups. We spoke with sport groups, with Bolotech, with some folks from the different aspects of the school system, Dundee, and the Recreation Advisory Committee, and some staff. So we compiled and correlated that data along with the discovery and analysis and came up with the recommendations for the plan, which was submitted in April. I'm going to start by talking about the vision, mission, and guiding principles, and then I'll hand it over to Max. So with respect to the vision is intended to reflect that 10-year horizon. It's meant to be inspirational, something that the community can buy into, staff and council. I think it speaks to the uniqueness of Richmond. Some of the phrases that jump out are that Richmond is flourishing, it has outstanding experiences, and that there's diverse and all-encompassing opportunities with respect to active living, creative enrichment, and community vitality. The mission is more on the ground. It lays the foundation, so to speak, the here and now and how you can your business. And it speaks to the support, guidance, and leadership that staff provide in the delivery of services, and that you engage with citizens groups, councils, and other departments so that all citizens can participate in activities. With respect to the guiding principles, they're meant to be more of the underpinnings or the philosophy behind how you operate. When the recommendations were developed, we considered these 6 principles. I won't speak to each one of them, but I'll start with quality recreation. Residents in our interaction were very pleased with the quality of the services as they stand now. So this is meant to be a reminder as the base level of programs expands and the different ways of delivering the services expand through partnerships, that bar is continually raised and the highest quality is achieved. Equitable resource distribution. We heard a lot from your citizens that they would like the programs and services to be closer to them. Transportation seemed to be an issue, distance was an issue, and you'll see in the recommendation that we talk about a base level of services and defining community assets that highlight more the individual districts and unique communities. And finally, I'll highlight equity. Again, staff do a great job of being inclusive. What we heard is that there's still some underserviced communities, persons with disabilities, the 2S LGBTQ plus community, the newcomers to Richmond, and your residents that reside in Bolotech. A more inclusive and comprehensive approach is outlined in the recommendations. And of course, collaboration speaks to the strength of the partnerships that need to be developed so that you can achieve all of what we'll be outlining in a few minutes. The plan itself is divided into 6 categories: active living, administration, the partnerships and community connections, the assets, leadership, and program service delivery. So, Max, you can recommendations?
We'll go to the next, each of these sections separately. They are all laid out in a similar manner. So for each category, we've defined a set of what are the municipality's roles in this area. So for example, in active living, best and promising practices with staff, volunteer and residents, social infrastructure, opportunities for movement in active living, and policies to support movement. And so those are the 4 roles. And then what you would see are recommendations. We've created those recommendations, both given them a priority and timeline. That will need further refinement by staff and council through your business planning and budget process. But for example, this one is within the community where people live, should be a primary setting for active living interventions. And we recommend to focus on those with less access and those that are less active in general. And then another sample recommendation is that the municipality should demonstrate a commitment to active living themselves, which means organizing team building events that encourage active living and movement, flexible work days that allow people to be exercise or be active during the day, walking meetings, provide shower and locker facilities within municipal spaces, and install bike racks. If active living is the priority of the municipality needs to model that behavior for others. The second category that we identified as part of the plan was administration and accountability. So first, obviously ensuring that the recreation operations have the resources they need to deliver quality, safe, and inclusive recreation opportunities. And that will involve certainly detailed discussions at budget time and business planning time to make sure those are available. Policies and procedures that guide the delivery of services so it's consistent and at best practice. We believe data collection is really important so that you can make evidence-based decisions. And we heard from lots of people that they'd like more communication. They certainly loved the newsletter and things like that, but they wanted more communication, more opportunities, many through social media. So we listed a couple of sample recommendations. One is to determine a framework that helps you decide, should the municipality do this, should it be a community organization, or should it be the private sector? And you have all 3 of those different groups delivering recreation. We did recommend you have a framework to help define that and ensure there's equitable and consistent pay opportunities and so on. Oops, my screen is flying here. So the next one was strong community connections. And we defined the roles as supporting community organizations to offer recreation, active living, and sports opportunities, help them coordinate their activities, maximize the effectiveness. You have many organizations, in some cases, doing the same kind of work to support themselves that they could probably do better collectively. Focus on the participation of underserved or underrepresented populations, and provide expertise in helping those community-based organizations navigate the various support networks that are out there. And as sample recommendations, we talk about cross-sectional recommendations, collaborations, partnerships, both with traditional and non-traditional, and also we've mentioned arts, cultural, and tourism opportunities, as well as the Botnatek First Nations, as all places that your citizens said that they thought was important, and those groups have all said they're interested. Broaden the participation of sport and active living with social service agencies. Again, you'll see this emphasis on who's not participating and how can we help them participate. Facilities, parks, and trails. So obviously municipalities should maintain and upgrade all components of its infrastructure, support community organizations in developing and maintaining facilities, parks, and trails, and make sure that different users groups that use the same spaces are supportive of each other and not creating either blocks between the two of them or sort of undercutting each other's operations. And so we identified a number of sample recommendations. One is the Richmond Arena, which you are already doing some work in this, but you need a new arena facility. In talking to citizens and groups, need a new ice surface, but also need program space that should accommodate meetings, programs, and social spaces, and a huge, huge demand for an indoor running track. And also, people were hoping that the HVAC system in the arena could be designed to allow both winter use, but also summer use, and obviously incorporate universal design principles for accessibility. We also listed in this area a potential recommendation of working with both yours and with the province's road teams to upgrade the shoulders of roads so they're safer for walking and cycling. Huge, huge priority. And for example, in one of our interviews, we talked to a 7-year-old who told us that they didn't feel safe riding their bike on the side of the road because of the state of the road. So again, I think you have to prioritize what areas to look at, but that's something that we've identified. And then further one, and Karen already touched on this, but we think you need to establish a minimum standard of infrastructure that should be available to people, including a playground, a multi-purpose space, a safe walking area, a multi-use trail, and some kind of outdoor space that would be suitable for social gathering. In leadership, we define that volunteerism is absolutely key to the success of recreation in your community, and so the municipality can do some support in that area. Also, programs only happen when there are qualified leaders and coaches and officials, and there are times when the programming that you're able to offer, that the community is able to offer, are based more on who they can find as a qualified coach than whether that's the best program for the community and what they're interested in. So again, we believe the municipality has a role to play in building that human infrastructure. Invest in staff so they can bring you the best and promising practices, and relationships with everybody who offers recreation. Everybody should be at the table so you can maximize what you can do. We've mentioned a sample recommendations around volunteers. We think volunteer recruitment and management practices and doing it together would be much more advantageous. We also suggest that due to the importance of trails and walking spaces, you should consider hiring a trails coordinator who could champion the implementation of a trail strategy, but also help the various trails group work together and get the maximum benefit for your citizens around trail use. Finally, we also suggested, because so much happens with the community around you, you would, we think, benefit from somebody who really is focused on building those community relationships. Program service delivery. At the end of the day, if we want people to be active and we want people to participate in recreation, it has to be easy for them. It has to be inclusive, they have to see themselves in it, and so that is one of the roles of the municipality. The municipality, as we've touched on before, should be thinking about direct, indirect, and third-party service delivery. The municipality has some incredibly unique assets and nature-based opportunities. That should be a priority. And how do you connect residents and visitors with those? And obviously support for active living within all age groups. We put some sample recommendations. One of them is to develop a Learn To suite of workshops and clinics. Many people don't participate because they don't know how, and they're embarrassed if they go to try it and don't know anything. So that's a really important role for the municipality. Similar to the base level of infrastructure, we would recommend that you develop a base level of service for what people in the community can access. in their area and make sure that those are sort of the top priority. As Karen mentioned, people really like what is going on in the municipality with recreation programs. And there are some unique things that, quite frankly, many larger municipalities don't have. But we do want to make sure that everybody has the base level. And that is our fairly quick presentation of the plan. We've distributed the plan with you, and happy to take any questions if you have them at this time.
Okay, thanks Max and Karen, much appreciated. We do have a couple minutes and I am going to keep us on time this evening as much as possible because we have a very full agenda and I know some folks want to ask questions too. So any questions for Max and Karen? I guess I would have a quick question, Max and Karen. So I noticed on one of your recommendations, you talked about playgrounds, no community, like kind of everybody being within 20 minutes of these types of facilities. Like, is that typical in other extremely rural municipalities such as ours in your experience?
20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, it is.
Your sound is cutting out, Karen. Yeah, I think you need to get ahead of the mic.
Depending on the nature of what the asset actually is, there's usually standards that dictate whether it's 20 minutes or 30-minute drive. Sometimes you can inch towards 40, but in terms of recreation services, even in rural areas, that is the standard. It doesn't have to be sophisticated facilities. It's more or less along the lines of what Max had presented with the playground or the walking trail, or even a tot lot, for example. But I know one of the counselors I interviewed spoke about the St. Mary's area and how there seemed to be more community amenities in that area. So we would suggest, it's up to council of course, something similar for Richmond. And again, because there's a 10-year horizon on this plan, you can spread the objectives out across the different districts in different years.
Right. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, no, I just want to thank Max and Karen for your engagement and your public consultation and your work with us. That's great. Max, you took the survey at a community breakfast in the schools, and you talked to my family and I, and we were watching you go across the hall with your notepad, and I was like, this is getting pretty competitive. You got a community hall that's going around asking, how do you like the sausages? How do you like the pancakes? I thought you were trying to improve your breakfast somewhere, but it was a great idea and great to see you there engaging with the public. So it was great. Thank you both.
It was great, and I don't think I could have improved on the Discourse breakfast, let me tell you.
Good stuff.
It's a tough one to beat. All right, any other questions? Okay, folks, well, thank you very much, Max and Karen, for joining us this evening. Much appreciated. And
Thank you.
yeah, I'm sure there'll be some follow-up from staff, and yeah, we'll look forward to next steps.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think our next presenters are here with us in person, so we'll move on through our agenda. So welcome to Juanita Mumbercat, Board Chair of the Dr. Kingston Memorial Community Health Center, and to Sherry Sampson, Administrator, is that true? Managing Director, thank you, of the Health Center as well. They're going here to provide us an update on funding support. So over to you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much. Okay, voice-wise, I don't have a microphone to speak into, so
Yeah.
Just on the desk.
on the
Oh,
desk.
it's the flat thing on the desk.
Oh, this
so
thing.
you're good to go.
Good, perfect, thank you. Sherry and I are here just to give you an update about what we're doing at the Dr. Kingston Memorial Community Health Center. We want to thank you, the Richmond Council, for the donation last year that helped support our work at the health center. We are asking for a donation again this year, but we wanted to give you a little bit of update on some of the stuff that we do at the health center and some of the stuff that this donation would support. So it's just brief, but we'll give you a little intro. Do I move the thing myself, or? Yeah. All right, so our request is funding support for Dr. Kingston Memorial Community Health Center. This is the type of information we're going to walk through today. Our vision at the Dr. Kingston, the Dr. K, as I like to call it, is healthy people and healthy communities. So we're trying to get to the root of health. So we have not only our primary care people at the health center, but we also have community-based programs that we try to provide to help address some of the social determinants of health that affect our area, including social isolation, poverty, food and housing insecurity. We try to do that by offering programs and services that support mental, physical, emotional, and social well-being, which is a big task. So I wanted to give you kind of an idea of the types of people that are in the health center providing some of these services. So we have our medical receptionists who, they're the people that take the calls, that set the appointments up. They'll, if you have a follow-on procedure or blood work or something like that, they'll set that up. So they take a lot of the administration and make it all work, which is no small task. And they always have a smile in their voice. So these people are crucial to the operation of that health center. Sherry, our managing director, is also very crucial to that organization, keeps all the bills paid and the people coming in and out. And not only her regular day-to-day duties did she perform last year, but she also is administrating for, like she comes to our board meetings, it's in the evening. She's an administrator for the Nova Scotia Association of Community Health Centers. That's a big one to say. And she's also the administrator for the Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health. So she's doing a lot of other things as well. And last year, she went the extra mile with a whole bunch of support, a whole bunch of people, but Sherry organized 2 fundraisers last year that helped get us into the black last year. So she goes the extra mile. We have a nurse practitioner who is located in our location. She is doing normal patient load at the health center, but she's also now doing some of the virtual care for people who don't have a family physician or nurse practitioner. So she's offering that part of that service for Nova Scotia Health. And one of these calls for the people who don't have, for the virtual care, for the people who don't have a physician or a nurse practitioner, the person got on the call with the nurse practitioner and she said it was the best doctor's appointment I've ever had. She had, talked about all the things, and she said the nurse practitioner asked her, how's your home life? How's your, are you stable? Do you have, she asked her questions more about the social determinants of health, not just about the particular problem that she had called in about. So she got her prescriptions renewed, she got appointments with a specialist, she had some other ideas about how to look into some of the things she could have done. So it's a fabulous service. She was very, very happy. We have a family practice nurse who works out of the health center, and this health center, with all these resources, is a collaborative center, which means that the physician can get the family practice nurse to do shots if there's someone that needs to get shots, or the nurse practitioner can say, hey, can you help me with this? So they can share the support of all of the people, all the patients that come in. And our family practice nurse was talking about the environment at the health center and how positive it was, and how much they like working there, and that a positive environment to work leads to positive outcomes, which is awesome. Good. And we have physicians. Currently we have 2. as I mentioned, they are a collaborative practice that they're working out of with the nurse practitioner, the family practice nurse. And when they are working together, that just provides a better option for everybody who comes to the health center for help. And the Dr. Kingston, the Dr. K is a turnkey for physicians and for the nurse practitioners. For everybody, they can walk in and start practicing. Sherry and her team provide all the administrative support and location and cleaning services, et cetera. So it's a nice, very nice option for folks. So that was the primary healthcare side. We also have the community-based programming side, and one of our key players is the senior safety coordinator. And what I've got here is some of the comments that Michelle McVie has gotten for some of the work that she's done over the last little while. Fair to say that the senior safety coordinator was and continues to be a pivotal person in the social fabric of Richmond County. Her position is essential. One of these incredibly helpful people who I'm sure everybody, if you've met Michelle, you know what she's like. They were able to get a heat pump, when they were trying to work with burning wood, when they were still having some health issues. It was just a wonderful service that Michelle provides. Another example was dealing with social isolation for some seniors. There was an iPad connectivity project. So they took, I don't know how many iPads they had, but they brought them out to seniors and they helped them start to interact with some of their family that was out of town. And they, this particular person was, in a bad way and really found that this program was amazing and helped give a positive spin, which I thought was great. Mm-hmm. Some more senior safety coordinator programs. There was a food preservation workshop to help with food insecurity issues. Some of the programming that was taught was for helping volunteers learn how to reach out to seniors. And then there was a musical care training for volunteers. So these aren't what you typically think of with primary care, but it's that community-based social determinants of health care that the community-based programming is looking to address. As well this year, the senior safety coordinator, who is also a yoga instructor, took training on trauma-informed yoga. And so she put on a proof of concept kind of trial yoga program, I forget how many weeks, like 6 or 8 weeks, and people were invited to come and experience yoga, trauma-informed yoga, which she said she feels like it went really well. So kind of cool to start to add in a few more interesting and different programs. The Dr. K also works with a network of other organizations to try to address these social determinants of health, like the River Roots Market Garden. It's in Richmond, River Bourgeois, and they have greenhouses and gardens, gardeners, healthy produce, cooking lessons, meals with friends, education, in an attempt to work towards food security. So the Dr. K is part of that in that network. So these are just examples of the types of things that this health center does. And you might think of the primary care but not know about some of the other stuff. You might know some of the other stuff but not know all the different resources. So we wanted to bring some of these stories to you. So as you also know, we're not for profit, and we every year work very hard to secure funding to support operations. We seek every year, we seek funding from federal options, from provincial options, from the municipality. We are also, I think our contract is up in September or October, August, with NSH. So we'll be looking at whether we can include a rent increase in that contract. We're also, last year, we had a couple of more fundraising events, and they were successful, so I think we'll probably do one or two of those again. I think we're planning to, but we'll see.
No small task to lift, I know.
I'm not gonna. Sherry, what do you think? So, and this is a brief look, very brief look at our financials from last year. So last year, we had extra funds, donations from the municipality, the province. We had 2 successful fundraisers, and we had donations coming in from the communities. In total, our operational balance for the year, we were actually in the black. Yay! $6,712, which is good because in January we were back in the red. So this was useful to allow us to survive January and February and March. So that was good last year. This year, I'm the next one, right? This year, so far, as of the end of March, we're $15,000 in the hole. So it was a good thing we had that $6,000. Part of the reason for the $15,000 or almost $16,000 is that one of our 2 physicians is away January, February, and March, so we didn't have the rent from that particular physician. Now, the same thing happened last year, but it was not quite as much of a deficit last year because, there are the costs increased this year. So it was a little bit higher this year that we have a deficit compared to last year. But a lot of it was physician away and then extra costs. So last year, we got $5,000 from the Richmond County, which really helped. I know that's what we have thought about for this year. We are asking you to consider increasing that for us due to the rising costs and the cost of living increases that we're experiencing. We also want to continue improving the employment compensation package for our employees. We want to make it the best possible job that we can for our staff to retain them, but also to give them a living, the ability to live and to retire maybe eventually. So we want to improve that. And then, of course, because we have the operational expenses, we have to pay the light and heats even when the physicians are not there. So we do end up having very little cushion to handle that lost revenue. So, and that's it. So that's our request. We are happy with whatever you can give us, but we would ask you to consider if there's an amount you could give more. And that's all I've got.
Okay, well,
Thank you very much. Unless,
Thank you,
Sherry, do you
Anita.
have anything to add?
Just if anybody has any questions.
Yes.
of
Yeah.
us.
All right, any questions for Juanita or Sherry? I mean, typically, we would have this conversation at our budget deliberations. I
Yes.
anticipate that that's where we will have it again, so.
That's perfectly
Yeah,
understood.
so just so you're aware of that. And any questions for Juanita or Sherry?
I mean, my questions could probably be answered like through an email as we do budget deliberations. Like you just mentioned, the idea that the contract with NSH expires in August, and I would be wondering if you've had preliminary discussions with them and sort of where that seems to be heading.
Whether we're working up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention that Friday last week, we met with our MP, Mike Kellaway, to talk about what possible funding they have, because they have both given money to the province and they also have a mental health budget. So we're working with Mike Kellaway to see if there's anything, any way, especially because we would like to address some more of the mental health issues. So, and that's a good pot of money. So we're starting to draft a one-pager of who we are and what we do and why we need their money. And we also, on Friday, this week, we have a meeting with our MLA Trevor to talk about what the province might be able to do. And we've been working all of these conversations for a number of years. And what our real goal is to get operational funding.
Right.
Not from Richmond County, but from a source that is a long-term sustainable source, so that we can go on and introduce more of these programs that address the needs of the community. So that's our ultimate goal, but as we work towards that ultimate goal, we have to still pay the bills, so.
Yeah, great, no, that's good.
Okay. The only other thing I would maybe add is, I guess, important to note that I know certainly Michelle's caseload extends all over Richmond
Yes.
County and probably beyond even.
Yes,
You know,
probably.
it's quite a caseload that she's got there, and I know I certainly have referred people from all over the county to her, and appreciate that support. I would assume, you know, the other healthcare providers in the facility are in a similar situation. They kind of folks from everywhere coming in, like all around the county
Yes.
to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just something for us to keep in mind as we kind of move into budget deliberations, and that's going to begin, I think, next week or this week or like
And
Thursday.
any
Tomorrow.
questions, just send them to
Yeah,
one of
for
the two
sure.
of us. Yeah,
Okay, will do. Well, we really appreciate the update. If there's no other questions,
Thank
we'll
thank you.
let you be on your way. I know it's been a wait to get on the presentation agenda, so I appreciate your patience and,
Thanks for all the hard work.
yeah, thank you for your
Thank you.
efforts.
Thank you for all your support as well. We really
Yes.
appreciate it.
We do really appreciate it.
All right.
Can we leave?
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is new business. So we have a couple of items under new business, and the first is Maui Friendship Gala sponsorship opportunities. So there has been piece of information added, I think, to the package that included an outline of potential sponsorship opportunities for this gala event that's taking place in Port Hawkesbury, coming up fairly soon. We have a deadline of
The 10th.
May 10th to make a decision on how or if we would support this event. So having seen the information, I don't know if councillors have any comments or thoughts on this.
I know, Warden, that you had planned to reach out to the CAO at Mullideck, and I don't know if you, in
I-
all your travels,
Yeah,
if you
no,
had a
I
chance
did.
to do that, and
Yeah, I did reach out to Crystal at Budledeck, and we have not been able to connect in real time. So I'm still working on that, but yeah, at the end of the day, I think just wanted to bring it here for discussion
Yep.
as well. So if anybody has any, I mean, I will continue I'll follow back up with Crystal to see if we can connect. But if there's any other comments, we can either, you know, keep this tabled for now, or we can look at, you know, making some kind of decision, even contingent-based at this point because of the deadline that's coming up, so.
What was the ask?
So there's several levels. Yeah, Troy, you've got it up on your
Sure.
screen. Maybe I'll ask you to go through.
Well, number one, if you're available on the 19th to attend, it's a two-day event. There's the gala on the 19th, and on the 20th, I believe they are having boxing matches and a number of other things on the go as well. But the ask tonight that we need clarity on is if we're going to attend, or we have enough people to attend, do we want to do sponsorship level at the $600 or the $1,000 so that you can get a table of 8 and be present to start the gala off as part of their work on reconciliation over in Port Hawkesbury. So one, if you guys are available, and two, do we have enough to fill the table of 8? I know May's a busy month, so,
It is, yeah. And it's the 19th, you said?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So would you like to maybe, we could let Troy know by email before the 10th if we're able to make it, rather than taking a roll call here. I think we probably all need to consult our calendars and,
Yeah, if you guys could tell me tomorrow by end of day, so I can flip it off to Melissa, because they need to get the print done
yeah,
in time. I'm
Okay.
good with that.
but I think you had suggested originally that probably the either the Friends of Mawiomi or the music and culture sponsor would be appropriate for us as a, or,
A starting point for
Yeah.
the discussion, yeah.
Yeah.
Just so that we're present, we're part of it.
Mhm.
And if there's not enough council, we can open it up to staff or others as
Yeah,
well,
that's
so
true.
that we're there to fly the flag.
I think I'd like to see what public that comes back with first, considering they're our First Nations, I guess, in our community.
Yeah, they are our
Before,
neighbors.
yeah, personally, before we move outside of our own.
I'd be interested to know if they're if they plan to participate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree.
Sure, I'll follow back up with Crystal, and then maybe we can proceed with
Perfect.
an email update to council. Okay,
Awesome.
great,
Thank you.
okay. The next item on the agenda is motion required to raise the accessibility flag for National Accessibility Week. So this would be in accordance with our flag policy. So the Accessibility Week runs from May 28th to June 3rd, so it's coming up upon us. So would councillors be in favor of us doing flag raising as part of our celebrations that week?
For sure.
Yeah, Councillor Digdon. Okay, well, if so, I'd ask for a motion to ask staff to raise the accessibility flag for National Awareness Week.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Digdon. Can I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Councillor Sean Sampson has seconded the motion. And just in terms of further discussion, we have talked also about reading a proclamation that day, as well as doing a couple of events, one in Arishat, one in St. Peter's, kind of centered around the Move It theme. So we're going to encourage people to get out, use the sidewalks, and then come together, and we'll have a bit of a presentation on the accessibility plan and the work that we're doing, so the public has an opportunity to engage as well. Did I miss anything?
No, but I'm glad the gallery's full, because maybe we'll see half of these people out on the sidewalk.
Would love to see everyone out at our Move It events coming up at the end of this month, so stay tuned. All right. All right, any further discussion on that item? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Okay, so the next item, I have a couple of updates to provide to council. I do have a presentation that was included in the package. You got it right there, Shelley, you're way ahead of me. I can't keep up with how fast you are. All right. Okay, so this was, I'm going to do this really quickly because I know we've got a full agenda, but so this was the opportunity that the province of Nova Scotia invited members of the Strait of Canso Offshore Wind Task Force to participate in, and was really happy to do that at a conference called Wind Europe in 2023 to learn about the Danish kind of experience, but also the work that's happening in the North Sea around wind. And sustainable energy in general. So could I get you to advance the slide? So just a little bit about the organization. It's an association that promotes the use of wind power generally, whether it's onshore or floating. There were a little over 14,000 attendees and over 500 exhibitors at this event. So it was a pretty intensive learning opportunity. And you'll note some of the content that was included here around supply chains, permitting grids, sustainability, resource assessment, engagement with communities, which is, of course, something the task force has been big on, et cetera. So could you advance the slide? Okay, so is it the PowerPoint?
It was the PDF.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, okay, so we'll just do this with the PowerPoints, or with the PDF. So day one from the Danish Energy Agency, we spent an entire day there and had 6 or 7 presentations from different areas of their, of work that they are doing with regards to grid sustainability, or grid access, with regards to maximizing sustainability, ensuring a circular economy, recycling, et cetera. So it was an intense day, really policy focused, kind of concluded with a bit of a presentation from a company called RWE, which was really focused on sustainability and engagement. Is it possible we could do the PowerPoint, because I'm missing the cues on some of the slides? So from what I could see with what we learned about the Danish experience is that they're really focused now, because they've got a 30-year history in this sector. They're really focused now on that sustainability piece and understanding now, because some of their structures are reaching the end of their life, and so they're really like looking at blade recycling technologies and different things like that, and maximizing efficiency while minimizing the footprint of some of these structures as well. If you can't find it, Shelley, that's okay. I just, in my brain,
Yeah, I have the PDF.
maybe I'll find it. I'll find it here, actually. That's okay. I swear we had this all planned, right? Just give me a second. Okay. I also brought back some information related to some of the education that they're doing with regards to preparing the workforce of the future, so I'll have some of that to share with you as well. Okay, so maybe we'll move to the next slide. All right, so the first day of the conference, the actual conference itself, was really focused on how the work that they've done to strengthen their supply chain, which are all the businesses that would contribute to sustainable energy. So if you think about, electrical companies, and you think about, metal fabrication and that kind of thing, these are key pieces. They talked a lot about decarbonizing industry and transport with wind. And really, if you think about those hard to decarbonize sectors such as aviation, or deep sea marine, we need to come up with some innovative solutions on how to make sure that we can decarbonize those sectors as well. Up on the top right I found a Canadian at the conference, so I made sure to get a picture of her. So the folks on the top right that you're seeing on your slide here are with a company called the Renewable Construction Academy, and so they have developed content that, when I look at it, looks like it could really plug in well to some of the post-secondary content that we have now to kind of inform people about a future in sustainable energy.
So Warden, you had referenced
Yeah.
micro-credentials there, and is that
Yes.
what they're doing there, is some
So
micro-credentials?
that company in particular I would say they would, it's almost like they have developed interactive online self-directed tools that could plug into micro-credentials, right? So, yeah, really great. So if you think about some of the core programming, sorry, we're on an education rant here, but if you think about some of the core programming, in the trades that we have now, how do we customize those for a workforce in sustainable energy? By plugging that kind of content in. It was a pretty exciting presentation. The bottom left corner is a photo of the Canadian ambassador to Denmark, who you can't see behind the picture is the trade commissioner as well, who were supporting the Nova Scotia reception. And the picture you see in the middle here is Sandra Farwell, who was with the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables, who was presenting the hydrogen roadmap, the Nova Scotia hydrogen roadmap at the event. So she has indicated that we can stay tuned for May 12th for that document to be available publicly. So if you could advance the slide. So again, here, as I mentioned earlier, just some lots of sessions focused on carbon footprint, blade recycling, efficiency. On the top right corner, the picture in the top right is a panel event that I took in, which was extra to the conference, focused on some of those sustainable solutions and collaboration, a lot of learning around how, when industries collaborate, that kind of thing. And that was hosted by Aegir Insights, which is Scott Urquhart's firm, who has been, I think, a key player in advising government and certainly the task force on, on the way forward. And a good Richmond County fella, so hopefully one day we will attract him back home. The photo you see on the bottom right, this is a photo of my new friend Nils, who works with DOB Academy, and again, very much an education-focused conversation. I built that little windmill there in the middle. It's spinning so fast you can't see the blades, but But it was a really interesting conversation because not only are they doing hydrogen, some of the first hydrogen training development in the world, they are also working right now on a project in Newfoundland on community engagement. So doing public education and public engagement as well, which I thought was really interesting because I think it's an excellent model we could be looking at. And then what you can't see behind this picture in the very middle is a photo of a traditional Danish meal, which it was a beef sort of dinner that is served in a communal style and reminded me a whole lot of how we eat here in our Acadian culture in particular. So that one was close to my heart, but you couldn't enjoy the taste or the picture even in this case. But I'm going to figure out how to make that gravy that they had, and I'll let you know. But this is part of our delegation. Of course, you'll see CEO of the Cape Breton Partnership here, Tyler Mathis, was with us, as well as Mayor Brenda Chisholm-Beaton from Port Hawkesbury. Other members of the delegation included our Development Officer, Martin Thompson, as well as some folks from the province. So if you could click to the next slide, Shelley. So the third day of the conference was really, again, talking about, a lot of talk about biodiversity and sustainability, and looking at ways to, specifically the North Sea is looking at a project to try to restore oyster the biodiversity of the oysters in the North Sea. There's a particular species of oyster that was very prevalent there many, many years ago and had declined, I think, for a variety of reasons. And they're looking now at specific ways of seeding these oysters and increasing that biodiversity back and using the turbines to do that. So I thought that was really interesting information. And I will just draw your attention to the photo on the far right to give you a sense of the scale of this trade show. That's a 2-story GE trade show booth with meeting rooms and stand. Like, this is, it's a pretty, reminded me a lot of the old OTAN's conference for oil and gas, but cleaner. So again, on the left-hand side, you'll see some slides there related to foraging and avoidance. So a lot of study going on into the impact to bird communities and some of the results from that. And then in the middle is a picture of myself, Mayor Brenda, and our development officer, Martin. So for those of you who haven't met him yet, Martin is above Brenda on the right-hand side there, and Andy Overton, who is with ORE Catapult, based in the UK, which is an interesting research and learning model that we're looking at trying to bring to this region so we can retain as much of the intellectual property and the as possible in our communities. So. Next on the slideshow is just some pictures from a tour of the Port of Esbjerg. I'm probably not saying that right, and Martin's not here to correct me, so my apologies for that. But you can see an example on the right-hand side of the design of the crew transfer vessels that that they've been evolving over time. On the left-hand side, we've got the CEO from the Port of Esbjerg providing us with some information on how important it was to develop the supply chain. What I really want to draw your attention to, though, is the picture in the middle. And again, when we talk about supply chain, if you look at these nacelles, so each of these are nacelles. I think they're Siemens nacelles, and you look at what's holding those up. So a local metal fabrication company created the design to create a stand for each one of those nacelles, and that has since become like big business for that metal fabrication company. So when you think about all of the pieces that are required to support an industry like this, it's a great example of the things you just wouldn't think of immediately, right? So if you could advance the slide. Just some key takeaways were related to education and research, workforce development, that biodiversity and the circular and sustainable economies, that the need for additional port infrastructure. We know that we have a gem of a port here, and I have provided you all with the glossy of the Point Tupper prospectus, which gives you some really great information about how Point Tupper can help us connect to the global economy. And of course, a big theme around collaboration, that innovation and wind in particular is powering the fourth industrial revolution. And of course, supply chain benefit and benefits optimization. And I've put benefits optimization in bold there because, you know, the point that we have been making with the province and that we'll continue to make is that where this work happens and where, you know, where this effort is being put in is where the benefits should also be realized. So that's why such a focus on the task force and on that local supply chain piece. And on the right-hand side is a Lego replica, because I think Lego might have been invented in Denmark. So that's just a quick replica of an offshore wind kind of design kind of thing. So. And then the next slide really is basically just summing up that 30-year commitment that Europe has made to a sustainable energy resource has resulted in the advancement of technologies and processes that have improved our environmental and our climate outcomes, but have also driven down the levelized cost of energy. So, you know, I think Nova Scotia's opportunity is to leverage that experience, adopt those best practices. We don't need to start from scratch, and so that we can leapfrog ahead. But certainly a lot more work to do on, you know, I always say the devil is in the details, and we need to do a lot more community engagement. But in terms of a learning journey, it was extremely valuable, and, you know, I think gave us all some food for thought about making sure that we're all talking the same language when we're talking about this, and that, you know, we even talked about perhaps one of the things the task force could do is to maybe do a bit of a stakeholder map, or maybe that's through this municipal council, so that folks, you know, who are not in it every day, the way we are, like, understand there's, you know, a couple of hydrogen developers, the Nova Scotia Power's role, so it's just kind of mapping that out a little bit for people so that it becomes a little bit easier to digest, because there's a lot of information and unfortunately a lot of misinformation floating around as well. So, yeah, so just some food for thought, and if anyone has any questions, that was as quick as I could go.
It was good. Was there any kind of interest from the province in terms of, you know, the port infrastructure? So I know that that was one of the areas that when I read, it was most concerning to me, right? Is that as a province, that's the piece that we have these great ports, but the infrastructure to support the industry is not there.
Yeah.
So I would hope that the folks from the province really paid close attention to that.
Yeah, and they definitely did. And you know, what they have plans for is a bit of an assessment across the Atlantic, actually, to look at the ports and the infrastructure that we have now and what might be needed to move us into the future. Okay. But again, you know, our point is that it, you know,
we have a lot of positives to our port to start.
The Strait of Canso has, you know, is the deepest ice-free, dredge-free port on the sea, you know, basically on the seaboard here that has access to the assets of land, and so so we're making our case pretty strongly. Yeah, in terms of supply base. Yeah. Okay.
Great
Any other
job.
questions?
Thank you for the, we like to pick and say it was a vacation, but thank you for the hard work.
I'll send
and
you the schedule.
I'm not picking.
Including the flights.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it took a long time to get from point A to point B. No direct flights from Halifax to Copenhagen, unfortunately. That's okay. Yeah, no, it was a great opportunity, and I do want to thank council for supporting it. And I think it meant, you know, I think, you know, when we're evaluating whether or not we participate in these things, we also have to think about the cost of not going.
That's right.
Right? And what is the information that we can bring back to our communities, and et cetera, right? So.
Well, honestly, we have to look at the stake, I guess. You know, we're the key player right in the middle of multi-million dollar industries.
Yeah.
So why not going would have definitely hurt us.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. So the next item on our agenda then is an update on the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities conference. So Troy and the deputy warden and I all attended the conference that was held last week, the end of last week, in Digby. Sorry, I'm like losing track of my days here. I would say a fairly well-attended event. A little over 100 folks from across the province, from municipalities across the province were there. we provided, Mayor Brenda and I did provide a presentation on this piece of, the Denmark trip, but mostly the task force itself overall. And yeah, I would say the sessions were fairly informative as well. I know I attended one on municipal code of conduct, just to hear a little bit more about that. I think, Troy, you were in that. And Brent, I don't know if there was any comments you wanted to make on it, but.
I was the other one.
You were in the other one.
Evaluating with the CAO.
Right on.
You know, so
CAO evaluation, right? Right.
Yeah, I missed that one.
he asked, and I said, no, Troy went downstairs.
But yeah, so I think a good learning experience is always, in my mind, very helpful to be able to connect with other municipalities across the province. They did have some opportunities to, they really did a showcase in the beginning on the quality of life initiative, which I know we've had a presentation on here in the past, and the new dashboard that they're coming up with and how that may support communities in being able to leverage funds for community-based projects, et cetera, and municipalities as well. We had I think an address from the Minister John Lohr, and had some discussion on climate action projects as well. I do want to say one of the municipal success stories that was presented was on a particular recreation initiative in Queens. I can't remember exactly where it was from, somewhere down the southern end of the province.
Was it Kentville or?
Yeah, you know what, I think it was Kentville. And at the end of the presentation, the presenter made the point that we should all go back and thank recreation staff for the work that they do, because you leverage the heck out of things, so thank you, recreation staff. I'm going to take her advice. And it was a really, really informative session for sure. Okay. I should also mention that it finished up with a presentation on Friday morning of municipal perspectives, the challenges and opportunities faced by towns versus rural municipalities like our own versus regional municipalities, and what some of the pressures are that they experience that we don't, and vice versa. And when it comes down to discussions on things like roads and especially infrastructure related items like water, sewer, we all have different challenges that we're addressing, so I thought that was really informative as well. Okay, so I'm going to move us on to the next item if there's no questions about the NSFM conference. Okay, so the next item is a review of the warden's report, and I did. No,
Maybe
it's
I'm
a
wrong.
review of the warden's council report.
There you go.
Yeah, so any questions on that? So that's just, again, my kind of running list of activities that,
You make me tired, that's all I can tell you.
that basically, I don't put in like our council meetings and stuff, but just if there are things that I've kind of touched base on, et cetera, I like to include that, so. Any questions on that item? And there are some of the individual additional meetings outside of the conference agenda from Wind Europe there, if you guys have any. So I wanted to make sure those were outlined for folks to be able to see. Okay, so hearing none, I'm going to move us on then. The next item. Gosh, this is a long agenda.
Yes.
All right. The next item on the agenda is community acknowledgements. So maybe I'll start with our Volunteer of the Month, Community Acknowledgement. This year's Volunteer of the Month is Paul Boudreau. Paul has been an active volunteer in his community for many decades, member of the Knights of Columbus since 1976. He's held several positions there. Paul plays an integral role in the Christmas Turkey Dinner Boxes initiative that's organized by the Knights, which serve those in need in Almadam. He's committed a lot of his time to Our Lady of Assumption Parish here in Arishat, ensuring the facility is available to the public daily and that inventory is replenished. He's a member of the parish choir, Eucharistic minister, and also a member of the parish council, as well as a member of the Richmond County Men's Choir. Paul is also one of the founding members of the Almadam Food Bank, and through his efforts he coordinates the volunteer group, receives calls from clients, and works on the distribution of goods to those in need on a biweekly basis. He was also part of the Red Cross Equipment Loan Program for approximately 18 years and has been providing coaching to minor hockey and minor baseball in the past. He's contributed to the door-to-door campaign for organizations such as the Cancer Society, Red Cross, and CNIB. So it sounds like Paul's a busy guy, and we thank him very much for his effort, and I hope everyone will take a moment, if you see Paul, to thank him for his hard work and dedication. And we want to thank him officially for all that he does for Richmond County. So thank you very much, Paul Boudreau. Any other comments on that or additional community acknowledgements folks would like to share this evening?
I have one, I guess, that I would, so on the weekend, as most know, or anybody driving around the weekend, seen lots in probably District 1, I know maybe right across Richmond County, definitely District 2, we had the cleanup.
Oh.
So there was many in the ditches and other ditches, and I can honestly say there was lots of items found. None of us were as lucky as Councillor Sampson, who found money, but it's just, I guess, depending on where it's at. But again, thank you to everybody who contributed and took the time this weekend to pick up the garbage. It's
Yeah.
it's great to see the hard work that they put into cleaning it. It's unfortunately very disturbing and I guess embarrassing to see how much stuff people can actually throw out their windows into the ditches. Considering that this is the place we live, not that I would like you to litter somewhere else, but when you're doing it in your own backyard, it's even that much more painful.
Yeah.
But for those who did walk around all weekend cleaning up garbage,
Yeah.
my sincere thank you very much.
Well said, Councillor Digdon. I know the folks in River Bourgeois were at it as well, so there were garbage bags lining the highways, and it's really, it's a good piece of work. Any other community acknowledgements?
Yeah, so I'd like to, of course, congratulate Paul Boudreau and acknowledge, a very well deserving recognition. I'd like to thank him for everything he does for District 1 and Almadam and for Richmond County, so congratulations to Paul. Also want to allude to and follow up on Councillor Digdon's comments. I see in the room, I'm looking around the room, there is numerous volunteers in this room that were in the ditches on the weekend, so I just want to thank everybody involved. And like Councillor Digdon said, it's very discouraging. I was looking for a Tim Hortons in Peterborough or a Tim Hortons in Little Ann somewhere to try to buy a coffee because there were so many coffee cups in the ditch from Tim Hortons that I thought we had opened one locally. But it's very discouraging, and I would ask that before people do stuff like that, they think of the efforts these volunteers are doing in the community to pick up this stuff,
Keep our
right? So
communities clean. Absolutely.
just leave it in your vehicles, right? And then, just wait till you get home, right? So just want to thank everybody and thank Paul and congratulate Paul. Also, last but not least, this one is dear to my heart a little bit because it includes and it refers to a young baseball player from our local area. Jack Bona, who was the son of Jennifer and Craig Bona from Louisdale. Jack has been selected to represent Nova Scotia on the U15 baseball team. So Jack's got a busy summer ahead of him. He had a busy winter last winter, but he's got a busy summer ahead of him, traveling to Halifax and Truro to play some games and practice and going to PEI for some tournaments. So busy guy, and it's all going to lead up to the Ray Carter Cup, which is a national tournament at that age, taking place on between August 24th and 27th in Laval, Quebec. So Jack is only one of two players in Cape Breton to be selected for this team. So just want to acknowledge Jack and his parents and his family for the sacrifice and the commitment. And I've had the privilege of watching this kid play. A couple of years ago, he was only like 12 or 13 years old, and we had two double hitters in Halifax. So played the two first games in Porter's Lake, and the second double hitter was on a Sunday in Cold Harbor. And I remember his mom, Jennifer, saying, Sean, she said, the field we're playing on tomorrow is a lot smaller than this one. I think he's got a chance to hit his first home run. And I'm like, yeah, well, I said, what's the length? And she's like, 200, 220, something like that. I'm like, yeah, he's got a chance for sure because I seen this kid hit right. So his first time up, boom, in the woods. And I'm like, well, I looked at Jennifer and I said, well, so much for the smaller baseball field, I guess. He hit it maybe 260, 270 feet. His second time up, he hit it more towards center field, I'd say he hit it over 300 feet. And I was just like, when he made the bases, when he went around the bases and went around third base, the opposing coaches were on the third base line, high-fiving and saying, you know, they had never seen something like this before. Right? So and a great kid, and to be so talented, but to be so gracious. He's a great sportsman, great kid, does everything with grace. And I tell everybody, you know, looking at the Jays of the 90s, you look at John Oldroot, he's tall, he's left-handed, he plays first base, he has such a grace swing to him. He does everything with sportsmanship and so much pride, and you never hear a peep from him. And I see John Oldroot in this kid, and it's great to see that he's going to represent us in our province and our county. The only thing I say is that John Oldroot couldn't pitch like this kid can pitch. So he can hit, he can pitch, and he does it with so much grace, right? So I just want to congratulate his parents, his grandparents, his family, and Jack himself, and wish him all the best this year.
Okay, well said. I think he's got a fan.
No, he's well, you know, coaching baseball all these years. it's
Yeah.
just-
Just find his picture.
Yeah, he's a joy to watch, right? So
Perfect.
and
I
the
can't
fact
wait for
that
the
he's in our
baseball
backyard, the fact he's in our backyard is great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Sampson, for that heartfelt acknowledgement. Any others to add today?
I think the only thing I'd like to add is lots of folks from our county graduating from post-secondaries, of course, at this time of year. From NSCC, that'll come in June, but right now, lots of university students graduating, so wishing them all the best in their
Yeah.
future endeavors, for sure.
Yeah, my Facebook feed is very joyful right now. It's wonderful to see. Yes. Congratulations, everyone. Okay, any last call for community acknowledgements? Okay, I'm going to move us on then. So the next item on our agenda is correspondence, and we do have several pieces where we do require some action and decisions from council. So the first is through a memo from our revenue manager, Clint Sampson. Clint is essentially giving us an update on several properties that did not sell in the last tax sale and have a small chance, I guess, in his estimation of selling again at this time. He's looking for us to establish minimum bids on 3 of these properties. And further, that we would direct him to sell at any bid if the minimum bid doesn't encourage that sale. So the properties are outlined in the memo from Clint. And so maybe I'll ask for your guidance, Troy, in your discussions with Clint at this time. You know, he's outlined what the minimum bid on February 10th was. He's suggesting a lower amount, obviously, than those minimum bids.
Right, so we go minimum bid first, and then, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, then it's principal after that, and then after that, it's any bid, if I'm not mistaken. I
Yeah, the
think-
suggested motion was principal only,
Yeah,
and then for half the principal amount, and then if that doesn't work, then to sell for any bid.
for any
Right.
price. Would councillors be in support of that?
Yeah, I'm prepared to make that motion.
Okay, so the motion is that council accept the recommendation of the revenue manager and CFO, and that council authorize them to sell property numbers 00366722, 105344461, and 105344471 for a minimum acceptable bid of principal only. And if these properties do not sell for the minimum acceptable bid, to sell these properties for half the principal only amount, and if they do not sell for half the principal only amount, to proceed and sell these properties for any bid. It's been moved by the deputy warden. Could I have a seconder?
I will second it.
Seconded by councillor Melanie Sampson. Any further discussion on that item?
Yeah, I know this is gonna come up every time we say it, but I'm okay with that. I would just like to, again, I feel that, you know, and I know our revenue manager has a job to do, and he does it great, but I do feel that every time we do this, we are, as taxpayers, losing money on the, by selling the property at less than what's owed, so.
Okay. Okay, councillor Melanie?
So I feel like I have to
You do
repeat
your
what I-
general
We have
rebuttal.
the same, we just do the same thing.
It's a
You know,
ritual.
that every year as we don't sell the property, then we are losing more ability to actually collect the future taxes on that property. And so if we can have a new owner on the property who would presumably pay the taxes, then at least we would be collecting those as opposed to continuing to accrue taxes that will probably never be paid.
Right.
So that's
So
what I was
definitely two
curious.
schools of thought, but appreciate both of your perspectives, certainly. Council,
So I would ask, and then maybe it's an ask that we can't do, but according to the MGA, is it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is the county of Richmond can actually claim that property if,
claim it, you mean?
claim it, or claim it, or
Vested, probably.
vest the property, or, right?
There is a list of vested properties. I think it's against their better interests, but
Yeah.
it is possible to do.
Right, and me, against, you know, I guess that's here nor there, whether it benefits us or not, but I believe if we own the property and we sold it outright, whether it be through real estate, through whoever, and I know we're not a real estate company, I just however look at, you know, the cost that land's been going for the last several years in the county of Richmond, and we're cutting it in less than half and then giving it at minimum bid. That's my only concern, and
Okay.
I think the only thing I would suggest on that, these are all under $4,000, and if there was a lot of money to be made on that, they would have probably sold the last time.
Yeah.
these are, but the last ones that sold at our taxation were not,
Right.
No, but we're just talking about this right now.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, thank you for those points of consideration. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, that motion is carried, with one nay vote. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a memo from CFO Jason Martel regarding a grant request from the River Bourgeois Mariner Society. This is for the Type 4 Regional Health General Grant Funds, and it's in the amount of $1,500. And it is specifically, as I recall, towards the conducting their annual poker run. I was having a hard time coming up with that word. All right, yeah, so this is the annual poker run that, and we did support last year to the tune of $1,500. Last year, when we did support that, it came, I think, 500 from District 3, 500 from District 4, and 500 from the Regional Health in general to support the request in terms of the fund allocation. But right now, I guess I would just open for discussion from councillors as to your thoughts on this.
So I guess I'll just, you know, again, as I thought last year, I think it is a good event and it's a good to sponsor. Last year, I was willing to put some of my district funds towards it, but we were a bit later in the year, so we
Yes.
already had established what the funds were. So I can say for sure from my own fund, not knowing what it looks like, and knowing that I've got a few projects coming down the pipe in District 3 that I wouldn't be interested in
Yeah.
putting money towards that fund, only because, again, it's not, that request, only because it's not in
Yeah.
my district and because I'm so unsure about what my allocation might look like,
Right.
so.
Yeah, it was later in the year when this
Yeah.
request came through the last time, yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Any other comments from councillors? Certainly, I would be willing to put 500 from my district fund in towards it. I guess I would ask council to consider 500 from the regional fund as well. If we can't meet the $1,500 ask, I think it is reasonable, just considering especially that we do not have grant funding, a whole entire pocket approved yet, so we don't really have a full sense of what that's gonna look like yet this year. But would be happy to hear other options.
I would make that motion. Remember, we got to take 500 from District 4 and 500 from the regional fund.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. So the motion is that council approve the grant request from the River Bourgeois Mariner Society for the Type 4 Regional Health General Grant Funds to be in the amount of $1,000 and to be allocated $500 from District 4 and $500 from the Regional Fund. Could I have a seconder on that motion?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Melanie Sampson. All right.
So my thought here in terms of seconding is just Councillor Sampson just got to the motion before I said it, that's not your fault, it was still processing. I was looking for the date of the event. So the date of the event is in September.
Yeah.
So option 2 here could be that we just defer a decision on this grant request until we've finalized our budget.
Yeah,
So just throwing that out there as an option.
okay,
Where we didn't get to, where we didn't get all the way to the request.
yeah.
In the
It's-
event that
it's not as
it might
time
change what our
sensitive.
view is. It may not, we may come down to the same conclusion, but
So our next committee of the whole before the summer would come in, because I think we ended up dealing with this item on a
At a
special
special meeting.
meeting.
okay,
If, yeah, Jason's
I
I see
agree.
nodding
Okay.
his head, yeah.
okay.
I'm not, like,
And I think deferring is a bad plan, so.
Okay.
You're right.
Not necessarily if it was deferred to June, because we may be,
You have the
even if
meeting
we're
in
not
June.
finalized, we probably have a pretty good idea where we're at that point.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, I can go either way.
I
Okay.
noticed a great amount of their funds were allocated to, wharf and dock improvements, or probably repairs if I had to. Would they be eligible for any of our other funding, that kinda,
yeah,
I just,
potentially.
as opposed to getting asked every year for $1,000 to $1,500.
Well, this is specifically for the run, though,
It's for
the
the
poker
event.
run. They have made separate requests in the past for larger amounts of money
Yeah.
to support the infrastructure, to your point, Councillor Digdon, yeah,
Yeah, and we could use that fund for, yes.
right.
Yeah, so we may wanna just reach out to them and let them know that may be an option,
Yeah.
as opposed to using their money out of their
Well, it
account.
wouldn't be an option for the run.
Not for the run, no.
But, yes, yeah, okay, yeah,
But if they would've kept the
For the work they're
$9,000
Just
Yeah.
educate
that they
them
used.
To what's
Yeah.
available.
perfect, I will let them know.
Yes,
A
but
lot
I
of
mean,
this
the
is
money would still come
advertising.
out of the same pot for us, right? So you're actually saying that they should apply for more
No,
money.
not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Waterfront
CCBF?
stuff.
Oh, the waterfront stuff out of the
Yeah.
CCBF.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, and some of that will depend on our budget deliberations too,
Right.
yeah, that's a great point.
Mhm.
Okay. So if procedure-wise, if we want to defer this, we have a motion on the table, we do need to vote on it.
Okay.
Unless we want to make an amendment to that motion at this point.
Yeah, I'd be willing to make that amendment to refer it till June, and then we'll have a clearer picture, yeah.
So back to the original, you consider it a friendly amendment?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So we
Seconder, it's a friendly amendment?
Yes.
okay, so the friendly amendment is to defer the decision until our June committee of the whole meeting?
Mhm.
Okay?
Great.
Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is, again, a memo from Jason Martell, our CFO, regarding a grant request from the Cape Breton Fiddlers Association for the Type 4 Regional Health General Grant Fund in the amount of $2,000. And this is, of course, to support the 50th anniversary, thank you, for the Cape Breton Fiddlers, which is coming up, I guess, this year. And I know that we had some information provided to us in the past on this as well, and they're looking at a series of events, educational opportunities, connecting with youth in our community, a commemorative banquet, as well as, looking at some special concerts, et cetera. They've identified in their application partnerships and provided letters of support from Destination Cape Breton, the Celtic Heart of North America, the Celtic Colours Festival, among others. And I guess at this point would open this for discussion. I mean, I know that we have several fiddlers in our county who would be part of this organization, both young and young at heart. So we'll just open this for discussion from council. Any thoughts on this one?
I do have some thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when I looked at the budget for the event, they had noted like that the request from us was 2,000, and then if I look at other municipal requests, County of Inverness was 5,000, Victoria 2,000, CBRM 10,000, like these were tentatively their requests. So then I kind of looked to see, they had commented that they were gonna have 3 events in Richmond County, and then they also had commented that they may have like 20, that they'd have 19 events across the right, so my numbers inside my head, I just wonder if $2,000 is the right number for us, given the limited number of events that we would have in Richmond County.
Right. I think the fiddlers from Richmond County would be participating in those other events, is my understanding, but it's a good question.
It's all tricky until we have the budget solidified, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
But the reality is that the costing of the events that are being funded by the contributions are directly related to the events, right? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you look at
Proportionate,
they
yeah.
need almost $100,000 to run this series.
Yeah,
And that breaks into like insurance, tents, security, toilets, technicians, like blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
right?
and plus the school program, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could ask them specifically for a breakdown of what's happening in Richmond County, because I know you're mentioning the concerts, but, what is the impact of the school program here? What's,
It just says
How many
3
of-
schools targeted, 12 in Cape Breton.
yeah. So I don't know if that means 3 in Richmond County, though. Do you know? Do we know that?
I do not.
Okay.
Not for sure, I don't. I read that as 3 in ours, because the one above it is 3 events in Richmond. I was
Yeah,
thinking
but
3 schools targeted,
it was
12
said
in
differently,
total in
so
Cape.
it just
It is.
confused me a little.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, should we request some more clarity on that one?
Personally, I would like more information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Counselor, or Deputy Warden?
Fine with that, yeah.
Okay. Counselor Sean
Yeah,
Sampson?
and defer it back to June as well.
Yeah, just push it to June.
Yep.
Would know more about our budget, and then, so basically what I personally would be interested in would be, like, what are the tentative list of events, and then where are they?
Yeah. Okay, great.
Agreed.
Counselor Duke. Okay, so we have consensus to request some additional information.
And have it back in June.
Great, sounds great, thank you. Okay, thanks, everyone. So the next item on the agenda is so correspondence from the Victorian Order of Nurses from Glenda Kipp regarding VON Week, which runs from May 21st to the 27th. The theme this year is that together we are making a difference. I know that the VON does provide an incredibly valuable service in our county that helps many of our most vulnerable citizens. From her correspondence, it looks like she's seeking that a proclamation potentially be made, as well as raising the VON flag. She has suggested lighting up a municipal building in blue, as well as helping to promote the week on social media. I feel like we did the light up blue thing last year.
Do we have floodlights outside that we did that with?
We installed some
You
Okay.
installed some? Okay.
temporary.
Temporary floodlights, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I guess I'd like to hear from council. Would you be supportive of these items? Yeah, okay. So it's,
The only thing I would question is the flag.
pardon me?
Right, the only thing I would question is the flag.
Yeah.
Because we've raised the Gaelic flag, of course, for the month of May.
Yeah.
This flag is, the VON week is May 21st to 27th. I think
And
we had talked about that
accessibility.
last time, right? Yeah, so we have,
Yeah.
And again, any of the people that get a month as other weeks come up, we're just
Yeah.
recognizing the weeks,
Yeah.
because those that get the month, they at least get the week, and if they can get 2 weeks, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these these week ones that come up, well, we're trying to recognize everybody.
yeah,
We
perfect.
put one of these little Gaelic pins on the
We do.
VON flag, and maybe that'll.
There you go.
We'll take a picture and send it off to Louis.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's fine, like,
Yeah.
I would agree, I just,
Okay,
That's what we're trying to do anyway.
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So the motion would be then that we would make a proclamation claiming VON week from May 21st to 27th in Richmond County, that we would raise the VON flag during that week, that we would light up a municipal building in blue during that week, and also promote on our social media.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Councillor Mike Digdon has made the motion. And
I will
second,
second it.
seconded by Councillor Melanie Sampson. Any further discussion on that item?
I would just add, maybe we can, like we do in, with other events, maybe we can share this with Tellil and they can scroll it under.
Yes.
We do anyway, but, or we try to.
Absolutely. Sure.
For sure. Okay, so we had then next on our agenda is is the two items that were previously added, and one is the, again, a memo from CFO Jason Martell regarding a grant request from the Richmond Wildlife Association for a Type 3 C1 Physical Activity Grant Fund in the amount of $172.50. It's a very specific amount of money that has been requested, and it is essentially to cover the cost of a porta potty for a fishing derby that they are hoping to host to really re-energize, I think, the organization. So,
Awesome.
I agree.
so could I just get some comments from council, or if someone would like to make a motion to cover that cost through our grant funding, or to defer, or however you see
Yeah,
it.
no, I like the motion, I'll make the motion to cover that cost from my district fund,
Okay,
You're gonna cover the whole thing?
the whole thing.
Nice. I'll second that.
okay, okay. Moved by Councillor Mike Digdon and seconded by Councillor Melanie Sampson that council approve the grant request from the Richmond Wildlife Association for the Type 3 C1 Physical Grant Fund in the amount of $172.50 and be allocated as follows, 100% from District 2 funds.
And I'd love to remind the adults in the world that it's 15 and under plus, so please don't go the day of or the day before to catch all the fish that were put into the lake. Leave the
Okay.
kids fish first, and then maybe after you can.
The temptation is strong. Okay, so any further discussion on that item? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. Trucking right along here. Next item is again another previously added item from CFO Jason Martell regarding a grant request from the Lewisdale Fleur-de-Lis Seniors and Pensioners Club for a Type 3 C3 sponsorship grant in the amount of $500. And from reading it, it looks like it's a bit of a partnership with the Seniors Take Action Coalition to bring together representatives from seniors clubs across Richmond County to kind of collaborate and support each other. And they do mention, of course, the impact of COVID-19 on their fundraising efforts. But they did also mention, I wanted to flag, that this will be an opportunity to present on the Acting Collectively project, which is, of course, something that is municipally sponsored. And the presentation from the research team will assist with kind of their recruitment efforts, is what they're anticipating. So the event is taking place on June 7th in Lewisdale, and so they're seeking $500 of support towards that event. So open for discussion from council, please.
I feel we should support it out of the general fund, because I think it's gonna serve all of Richmond County. And certainly love the idea of promoting the Active Collectively project.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Collectively project. So if there's no more discussion, I would make a motion that we approve the $500 grant request, and that the funds come from the general,
Regional.
thank
Yep.
you.
Okay. So could I have a seconder on that motion, please?
I'll second that motion.
Councillor Sean Sampson has seconded the motion. So the motion,
I was gonna go hard each, but,
Well, I was thinking that too, but
yeah,
then,
yeah.
it's the same as the regional.
Councillor Digdon here is showing us up with his $172. So
Well,
that thing.
exactly.
No, but, no, I agree, Councillor Sampson, so yeah,
okay.
I'll support that motion.
Okay, so it's been moved by Councillor Melanie Sampson and seconded by Councillor Sean Sampson that council approve the grant request from the Lewisdale Fleur-de-Lis Seniors and Pensioners Club for the Type 3 C3 sponsorship grant fund in the amount of $500 to be allocated 100% from the regional fund. Any further discussion on that item? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. That was a lot of correspondence. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you to Troy and through you to Jason for your work on that as well. The next item on the agenda is the review of checks issued from April 2023. Do councillors have any questions for staff on those? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on. The next item is the review of action items. Any questions on the review of action items? Okay. So it's quiet. That'll help us speed things up for sure. And the next item is items added to the agenda. We do have one item on the sidewalk project. So over to you, Councillor Sampson.
Yeah, thanks, Warden Memberkit. So, just a follow-up from our last meeting when it come to the sidewalk project here for going up to the school. spoke to many staff members of Ecole Beauport, and also spoke to one of the operation managers, who I think you spoke to as well, Chris, saying that there wasn't too much in their operation budget, on their end when it came to funding our request. But just wondering if we could look, Chris, if we could look at putting a motion forward tonight to see if we could reach out to our tender, our company contractors that tendered out before May 6th. Wondering if we can get some sort of extension there in good faith, or if
To
they
see
could
if they would honor the bids.
that bid. I can't see too much changing, from now till our budget deliberations are done, right? So just, if you could reach out to those contractors to see if they could honor that bid, and give us time to go to our budget deliberations just to see, where that goes going forward, right? See if we can get this project done this year.
Troy, which would you guys want
Leave
to
it with
confirm
us.
on that?
Yeah, leave it with us, please.
Yeah.
We'll look into it,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Because we have options for you guys to consider under budget as well, so,
Okay.
but by all means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great,
Great, happy to hear that.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
just,
Thank you.
thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we're nearing the end of our agenda, and there is a 15-minute question period. So I'm going to ask that whoever would like to come up and ask a question, we may need to ask you, Juanita, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Louise, okay, thank you. So if you don't have a question, maybe we could ask you to kind of back away from the desk. We just need the mic so that the folks at home can hear the question as well. Thank you, I appreciate that. Sorry for there's just not enough chairs in
We're
the
at
building.
capacity.
Just not enough chairs in the building today, so. Okay, so yeah, I'm also, Lisa, while you're preparing to sit down there, I do want to also mention that we do have a phone-in option. It's 902-226-9885. Oh, we do have someone on the phone ringing in. So, Shelley, when we answer, we're just going to ask them to hold off a minute, and we'll let Lisa ask her first question first. Hello? Hi, you've reached question period.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thanks. This sounds like Jermaine, is it?
Yes, it is.
Jermaine McDonald. Okay, thank you for calling.
From St. Peter's.
Awesome. Thanks for calling, Jermaine. We do have someone just at the podium who was a little ahead of you, so we're going to let her ask her question first, and then we'll go over to you, okay?
Great, okay, no problem.
Okay, thanks. Just hang in there. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Boudreau. I've spent some time sitting in the chair from time to time in the past, and it's been a while since I've been here, but thank you very much for allowing question period. I do have more than one question.
Well, maybe we'll start with your first question, and then we'll give Jermaine a turn, and then we'll go back, I think.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge everyone that's here, and
Yes.
I would like to ask for a raise of hands of those who are actually here because of the Save Pondville Beach Committee. So thank you very, very much for coming. I much appreciate it. It feels really good to have that level of support.
Yeah, I know. It's a capacity issue, right?
You easily had 50, at least 50.
Thank you for counting. Anyone along here that's here for that reason?
We had a council meeting to attend, so we had to be here. We're here for many reasons.
All right, well, first of all, I would like to acknowledge that your first presenter spoke to my heart like there was no tomorrow. So I wrote down all kinds of notes so that we have this active living strategy and that we breathe it when we look at our own communities and what assets we have. They spoke about local, they spoke about inclusive, they spoke about the community input and consultation. They talked about bike racks. They talked about, natural spaces. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So today we're here to talk about a movement called Save Pondville Beach.
Well, you have a question, though, for question period.
Of course.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right, I just want to kind of recognize and just, for folks who maybe don't attend on a regular basis, the question period is very specifically for questions from the public. We do have an opportunity at our committee of the whole, as you saw this evening, if, community groups want to come in and do a presentation. We really enjoy that as well because it gives us kind of more of an opportunity to get the context of what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
unfortunately, we didn't get the horse out of the barn, quick enough for the actual presentation. So
Okay.
we're hoping to
June.
get on your June agenda.
Okay. Perfect.
right? So we're here today just to raise awareness, because you're entering into budget deliberations, to be able to actually see how funds move from the province to the municipality, to the departments within the province, to end users, in this case, the park.
Sure. Oh,
So
I have
Save
your
Pondville
question.
Beach Provincial Park is a movement that began just a few weeks ago, and it's gained some very great momentum. And we now have over 900 people on our Facebook likes, and we have today hit the 900 mark for those who have signed the online petition. So for us, St. Pondville Beach Provincial Park is composed of a group of concerned citizens whose purpose is to engage and the funding partners of places like Pondville Beach, and to advocate for very much needed improvements and accessibility to our local and public places. So the effects of walking Pondville Beach, playing in the sand, gathering with friends, viewing and listening to sounds of the waves, witnessing the beautiful sunrises we have, and welcoming tourists and the impact on physical fitness, mental wealth, and well-being. Economic spin-offs through tourism for people from regions, from people from Elmadam, businesses, and surrounding regions.
Excuse me, Lisa, and I don't mean to interrupt, and I'm the last guy that wants to interrupt you, but we need a question. And I know you need to get your point
Setting up
across.
for the question.
However, we need to start off strictly with a question.
And Pondville Beach is the only park accessible, sandy beach accessible by vehicle on Ilma Dam. And the immeasurable value that the place like this has for discovery, lifelong learning, love and nature, and advocacy for natural places and where it begins. So the municipality is supporting Point Michel Beach by providing a new building to house materials for enhanced accessibility and recreation programming that is delivered there as a provincial lifeguard staffed beach.
Right.
I understood from your email today that there was some considerations there.
Mm-hmm.
All the funds flowing through the municipality from the province earmarked for provincial beaches limited to those with lifeguard services? Or is it the fact that the municipal recreational programming is ongoing at this beach, that municipal funds support this beach year after year?
So provincial funds, you're asking about provincial funds that are flowing through the municipality to support beaches?
So what I'm saying is, year after year, Point Michel receives funding through this municipality
So
for either
Point Mich-
accessibility or programming.
Right.
What I'm asking is
Yeah.
it because it is a lifeguard staffed beach and allocated that way?
Yeah.
Or is it because the
Okay.
municipality actually runs recreational programmings on that beach? Which is
Well,
it?
it's actually both.
Both,
So,
Yep.
so we are able to provide recreational activities at Point Michel Beach because it is lifeguarded, and it's certainly from a risk mitigation and insurance, even trying to get insurance, that lifeguard staffing is definitely something that we would require in order to be able to do water-based programming. We do the sandcastle competitions on both beaches because it's land-based, right? So that's a little bit, it's easier for us to mitigate that risk. But because it's lifeguarded, we're able to offer the recreation programming. So then what's happened with the structure at Point Michel Beach is that council allocated a certain amount of money because in order to have that programming happening there, we needed storage for the surfboards and this
Moby mats.
stuff that I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Whatever. Yeah, all the recreational kind of facilities there. And again, it's because it's lifeguarded. So that's not provincial money that's flowing from the province through the municipality to the beach. It's specifically municipal funding that we're investing to support the rec programming that we're able to do because the province has a lifeguarded location there. So I hope, does that clarify?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay.
If the lifeguard was not at the beach, and there were
Yeah.
other recreational activities going on, would the municipality still be funding these programs?
So I guess the answer is potentially. So if there was no lifeguard at the beach, it's highly unlikely, and I would say almost zero probability that we would host water-based recreation activities at that beach. Again, if it was like a sandcastle competition, or I'm trying to think what else, like a, I don't know.
Beach
sand-
volleyball.
Beach
or something.
volleyball, or something that was land-based, we could potentially go ahead and do it. We generally would have to apply, we have to make an application to the province to be able to use that space though to do it. And certainly we've had to make that application to put a kind of a shed on there. Any of the other facilities that would be at Point Michaud or any other beach, they're all directly provincially invested in and maintained. They're not the municipalities, so, yeah.
Did you want to take your online question?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself there. I got right into the discussion. My apologies, Jermaine. Jermaine, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, no problem, thank you very much.
Okay?
I guess my question was just about the tax sale.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm just wondering why there'd be discussion in public about the setting, how you're gonna accept the bids for certain properties. Just given that at this point, if the public hears this, you know, your first choice would be to sit back and wait for it to come to, bid whatever you want.
Yeah, so Jermaine, I'm gonna start and then maybe I'll ask Troy to jump in, but just so, obviously council would, because we're straying from typically what we would expect to receive in the tax sale in terms of at least the amount owing, because we're straying from that, we're required to provide a motion of council specific to the property to allow staff to accept bids that are different from what the typical minimum would be. So maybe Troy, I'll ask you to kind of chime in. I don't know if there's any additional detail.
Not a whole lot, other than it is strongly encouraged by the province to move these properties off your books because the accumulation of unpaid taxes works against the municipality. So I believe it was Councillor Melanie Sampson that mentioned, it's not about what's owed today, it's getting somebody in today and in the future that is going to continue to pay tax and contribute to the county.
But
I totally understand.
Jermaine, Councillor Melanie just wanted to make a comment on that as well.
I think what you're asking, and maybe they're not understanding, but help me out if I'm not saying it right. To me, I think you're asking, why are we tipping our hand to say what we would take?
Yeah.
Which basically would tell somebody like, just wait until we'll take whatever.
Right, because under section 22 of the MGA, I think it's 2B, it says that setting the minimum price to be acceptable by the municipality at a tax sale is one of the exclusions for public meetings, that you can have them in camera.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I guess I just thought that something, that would probably, that may cover that.
Still need to make the motion.
We would still have to take we would have the discussion in camera, but then we would have to make the motion in a public meeting. So we would have to come out of camera, we would have to state the PID, and we would have to state the instruction.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, well, that's the way it is. I guess it just seemed like,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling your pain on
We
it.
feel the same way.
I feel your pain, but yeah, that's, thank you for calling.
Thank you much for the opportunity to ask the question.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so you had another question, Lisa? Shoot.
Based on the fact that the 2021 census shows that 70% of citizens on Almadam are over 60 years old, does the municipality, through the province, fund accessibility to support aging populations? And does the $8 million in available provincial parks funding this year offer any new funding avenues for Pondville Beach through the municipality?
So I'm going to start with the second part of your question, because I spoke with Trevor on that amount of money today, because it certainly was catching my attention. These are not funds that are available to the municipality to apply for, is what he's informed me about it, sorry. And that's our MLA, Trevor Boudreau, for those watching. But it's essentially almost like it sounds to me like it's more like a maintenance budget that the province-wide that they're using to support the 130 parks that they have. And so priorities have been submitted to this provincial list for all of these 130 parks. I think the budget had been, was it 1 or 2 million, and then it jumped up to the 8. He indicated it's now closer to the $10 million mark, is where it has landed. But it's not funds that the municipality would be able to apply for. So the short answer, I guess, to the second part of your question is it's not really, it doesn't present a funding opportunity for the municipality. And then the first part of your question was kind of around age-friendly and accessibility. So you would have heard, I guess, a little bit earlier that absolutely our accessibility committee is working really hard to improve accessibility in the county. We have 14 actions that we are trying to pursue with the next, I would say, hopefully 3 years, including Rick Hansen certification of our buildings, and, you know, and things like activities in the community. We're really looking for more public engagement and more, I would say, first voice opinions at that accessibility committee table. So far, all of the activity from that group has been funded through the operational funds of Richmond County. So we've been taking on those costs and you know, and treating them as our own. They haven't been funded by any external source. I think I'm correct in saying that.
I'm here to talk about Pondville Beach. I want to know
Yeah.
directly how this accessibility issue can be used to fund things like Moby Mats, like,
Right.
you know, programming,
Yeah.
maybe resurfing a parking lot, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Benches,
So-
picnic tables. How are we looking here at this
Yeah.
in your mandate? How does the municipality fit in that?
Right, so if it's municipal owned, which I know Pondville Beach isn't, then we have the ability to invest in those types of things that you just talked about. In the case of Point Michaud, where we have a letter of authorization of some sort, or we have an application where, you know, because it's a lifeguarded beach, we've been able to look at the Moby Mats there. So it would depend, we'd either need to own the infrastructure, or we would need to have some sort of authorization from the owner, an official authorization, in order to be able to legally invest there, I guess, to do those kinds of things.
What we're asking as part
Yeah.
of this committee mandate is to find ways and understand how engagement can work between
Yeah,
municipal and provincial bodies to be able to afford these
Yeah.
monies that are flowing down,
Yeah.
to be used in places for people who require them,
yeah. So,
everywhere.
yeah.
So I don't really want to know anything about how many years from now it's going to be. This is imminent. We have 70% of our population that's over 60.
Yeah,
They need accessibility to their regions now. That in itself is something that the municipality should look at to work on liaisoning with the province.
Yeah.
So when they come down with a $10 million budget, it makes sense to put it in the places in their own communities where they can enjoy for free.
yeah. So I totally agree with you. I see, Melanie, you have.
Yeah, no, I
Councillor
totally
Melanie.
agree.
Yeah.
And I understand your, you know, the urgency, but I guess I would just say, it took us, and Shannon, you may know, although I think it was Laurier that did the letter of authority at Point Michaud, but we had that building on the books for like a couple of years before we could get authority to even do it.
Yeah.
Like the wheels turn slowly, so I think you're right, like working with the
Yeah.
MLA and ourselves is the answer to getting these things to move quickly, but understanding that we don't depend on how quickly those things happen, right?
Yeah.
Because we had it all budgeted, set aside for the recreation building there, and it took, I think, 18 or 19 months, I think, for us to get a sign off.
It was in the original budget discussions.
It was in our
Yes,
first
it was in
budget
our first
discussion, when
budget
we first were
discussion.
elected.
I don't know
yeah.
how long it had been there
Prior,
prior, but I know
exactly, yeah.
Laurier had it.
So it may have been longer.
A movie mat,
Yeah.
a bike rack, a picnic table, 2 benches, okay? A dog recycling station where you can actually get a bag and throw the doo-doo in at the park, so
Yeah.
they don't end up in your car,
Yeah.
or
Or
stay
on the beach, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
So these are not unreasonable things that
No,
are really
no,
expensive to implement.
yeah,
What I'm asking is that our municipal council actually engages with the province in a meaningful way for Pondville Beach to ensure that we can find some way to grow the way that the province looks at accessibility to the point that they can actually affect it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just do
Yeah.
lip service.
So another piece of information that the MLA provided me with today is that the province is undertaking a management plan for Pondville Beach. And so that's going to involve exactly that kind of engagement. And I think it's kind of perfect timing. I know we wish things would happen more quickly, but the fact that you have a group now of, of folks together to really articulate specifically what you're looking for as this management plan is being designed, to us as a municipal council, that's golden because we can help funnel that message as well. If they're hearing it from the community, they're hearing it from the municipality, it can be included in the management plan. And so my understanding is work's going to start on that. I don't really have a sense of time frame, but he had, his indication from, to me today was that MLA Boudreau was that natural resources and renewables staff, we're going to be getting started on that management plan. So that was today on
Well,
my way home.
that was in
So
the
we
news,
had a
that was in the news media release.
Yeah, I read an
Today.
article today.
Yeah.
From the MLA?
Straight area news. So that
Um,
was a news media release today from Straight Area News that states exactly what Warren Mumbrick had said. Also puts a focus on accessibility and climate change adaptation.
Okay.
So they're doing.
So
the
I'm going to
driveway,
ask
all that
both
stuff,
of
right?
you a question, because we had a little meeting with our small committee, and both of you attended, as well as MLA Trevor Boudreau. Did I misunderstand when we had the discussion that the funds available at the provincial level had to be requested by the municipal level?
Sorry to
No.
interrupt, but yeah, because I asked Trevor about that today, and that $10 million fund, or now $10 million fund, it's not a
No.
fund to which we can apply.
And what I think we had said there, Lisa, that most times, we're looked at as almost, and I said this the other night, we're looked at as almost the last line of defense, right? So it comes from the feds, comes from the province, then it comes down to the municipal
Yeah.
level, right? So we didn't say we had to request it, but if the province was like putting money in for Moby Mats and all this stuff here, or
Yeah.
whatever, they might say, well, municipal council, what are you guys doing? Right? So I'd like to see what you guys are doing here, because as I said, we're looked at as the last line of defense, but situations like this, we're almost looked at as the first line of offense.
Right.
So if we're gonna be the first line of offense here, which we are, which is great to see, hopefully that gets the attention of our MLA and our province and the federal government. But yeah, no, I don't, maybe I just spoke, but I don't think I said that, we have to request money from Trevor Woodruff. No, I don't, no.
I was under the impression that of the 200 or so parks in the province, that there was only about a dozen that have parks management plans.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There's not very many.
So
And-
I find
Yeah.
it very interesting that we've started this movement, we've had all kinds of media attention, and no other park has stood up and said, you know what, the same thing's happening over here. I do believe
explain
that the
that.
condition on Pondville Beach is exceptional. The amount of damage to the structures that are there to hold the geographical pieces together, which are unique. It's not like Pont Michaud, which is a straight barrier beach, which, suffers little or no erosion. You're
Oh, I
talking a
would disagree
place,
with that, but that's
Well,
another story.
go to Pondville Beach.
So-
and
No,
then
I'm
you will
not
see that
saying
you cannot
Pondville doesn't have
compare.
erosion, I'm just disagreeing that point.
So
you
Lisa,
don't
to your,
have
to your comment, if I may, Madam Warden, is,
Yeah.
I think that's a great, idea that we're actually, that the province is making or starting a parks management plan and the rest of them are, because like everything else, I think, when the province has to allocate money, it's hard just to give out money and then say, well, we don't have a plan, but we're just gonna shove you money. So by them saying, we're gonna start the park management plan, I know it may be a lengthy process, however, because there's been several done already, they may be able to copycat off of what's there and allocate it to the Pondville Beach and make it a lot shorter plan. As to the comment earlier about the funding, I don't know that we, I know that we don't, the money isn't funded through the province through us, however, I think we can definitely allocate on behalf of Pondville Beach through our municipality to say that this is what we'd like to see,
Do you
via
mean
Trevor.
advocate?
Advocate.
Yeah.
So, I think we can definitely do that. I don't see there,
So, and that's something I was thinking to suggest, that conferring with Troy here is, could we put a letter together, maybe jointly, with your group.
Yeah.
Is it, are you registered now? Did you say you were? Oh, okay. Well,
We are basically an advocacy group.
okay.
We're not
And that's
a-
fine.
Well, that's fine,
Yeah.
that's fine. The municipality can still put together a letter,
Yeah.
maybe with some of the, content that you've described here this evening, and indicate that we're eager to participate in the management plan consultation, and that we see that there's some, some pressing need at Pondville Beach, and opportunities for investment.
I mean, we can also show that, through the planning and through the, accessibility, it's something that we strive
Yeah.
towards, and by the province doing, engaging in this, it's something that they actually help us,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
mandated by the province anyway, so it's, it's one of our top priorities as well that we push. So I think a letter to the MLA, it'll climb the ladder.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's already working. I mean, you look at this newest media release again today, and it's talking about community involvement, community engagement,
Yeah.
all this stuff, right? It's talking about accessibility.
What you're doing is working,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
I
right.
think
It's
it's no
working.
coincidence that that
What I
happened
need
today.
to know is how does the municipality fit into this, other than letters of support? I need to know
Well, I mean-
how the municipality fits in
Yeah.
its constituents' needs for public places
Right.
that are safe, and for accessibility for all of the residents of their county. You're speaking to everybody in Richmond County right now.
Yes.
How does the municipality fit? Is it a letter of support that we're going to give?
Well, it's advocacy at this point, Lisa, because we don't own the property. We don't have any authorization to, because I think what you're asking really is, will we spend some money there? And we simply can't, because we don't own it and we don't have any authorization to do so. Now, if we could figure out some land-based things that we could be doing maybe,
Are you talking
Right?
just if you don't use the, enter the ocean with your recreation? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, as soon as we put people
We have
on
all
the water.
kinds.
Well-
Is that what you want?
Perfect, that's exactly
So
what
we would like to
Yeah.
see.
So I'm just gonna stop you there though, because I'm keeping an eye on our time and we're about
Right.
10 minutes over.
So I gotta talk.
No, I'm gonna stop you, because if you have a list, I'm just suggesting maybe we could kind of have that discussion in a group setting. We don't need to do that, I don't think.
No, it's okay. I have 1 minute? Okay, thank you. So, $28,000 of this build in Point Michaud came from what was called a Canada Community Building Fund.
Yeah.
Which was the gas tax
It's
fund,
infrastructure.
which
There's-
also supports tourism and accessibility
Yeah.
on top of all the infrastructure under the ground that we need to run a municipality. So those funds were taken to cover the deficit before the actual budget deliberation happened through a special resolution to be able to do that. What we need to know is.
No, I'm sorry, that's incorrect.
No,
We didn't
that's
use
incorrect?
CCBF funds to cover any municipal deficit.
Did you use it to cover the build in Point
The
Michaud?
increase
The
in the
increase.
cost of the
Okay.
building.
Okay,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that one.
But the funds were coming from there regardless.
yeah,
All of the funds for the building are coming from the CCBF.
Okay.
yeah.
So that is not, that is a fund that's funded yearly through the gas tax. $500,000 a year through the gas tax goes into that fund.
It's CCBF now, our
Right.
gas tax, yeah,
And not always 500,000.
and not always 500.
So is that fund available to take care of some of the issues that we might be looking at Pondville Beach? To do things like support walking programs, support yoga on the beach, support painting in the park, support meditation and mental health?
So what you're talking about are activities though, they're not infrastructure.
To support those activities, we will require some infrastructure.
Right, and if there was, if those activities were to land in our recreation programming, say, for example.
Right.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not guaranteeing that they will, because we have a staff this big, trying to do this many things. Hopefully, there's some room there that we can make it all work, or some of it work. But at the end of the day, if infrastructure is required, and it's in the risk mitigations in place because it's land-based, until such time as maybe there's a lifeguard there, then, and if we do need infrastructure, then we could look at applying CCBF money, or allocating CCBF money to support that activity. But we would need a letter of authorization from the province.
Sought out, and it's a great time because it actually is just in time for that healthy lifestyle initiative.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I understood from Shannon that 5% of the residents of Richmond County actually took part, and that was considered a good amount. Mine sat at home while I was vacationing and returned. It was past the date. I've asked a couple of people if they actually received it. They weren't sure. You know, the online initiative
You mean
is
the
great.
consultation for
If
the?
you're online, yes,
for
the
master
consultation.
plan,
So, you know, I mean, like everything else, it's impossible to reach everybody.
yeah. Yes,
But 95% did not take part.
yeah.
So that leaves some areas of improvement for sure.
So I'm just gonna ask you if you have another question.
Yes, the
'cause I need to
question
wrap
is,
this up.
the fact that that this is something that the municipality is actively engaging in,
Yeah.
that has paid for consultants to actually help out with this, and it becomes part of their strategy. I felt like those presenters were actually speaking about the Save Palmville Beach initiative. So how does the municipality use the consultants' reports that they actually pay to come up with ideas for them on how to increase inclusivity and wellness and active living? How do you use that effectively?
Okay, so I can't speak exactly to the draft rec plan yet because it hasn't been adopted and we haven't taken it to actioning. I mean, I have a sense of what we would do, but I could.
But you know the purpose.
Right.
Why you're doing
Yeah,
it.
and I can speak to the accessibility plan, right, which is very, I won't say similar in nature, but it was, you know, similar process, a consultant hired, priorities established, a lot of community consultation conducted, to the point of a mail drop in everybody's mailbox. So we're trying a lot harder, I think, than ever before to reach as many people as we can, although sometimes the response rate is still low. At the end of the day, once that report with recommendations was put together, we picked out the actions. So we held a session here in this, I think, in these chambers, and we prioritized as a committee which actions we were going to work on first, and those are the ones that our committee meets to talk about each month. So we are, you know, we're looking at making a bit of a splash for Accessibility Week. We know that we want to get information out to businesses which need to be accessible by 2030. And so there's a list of the 14 of them that we've kind of prioritized in order. I anticipate we'll do something very similar with the recreation plan, should it be adopted by council. Because there is a lot of information on it. We're not going to be able to get it all done in the first year. It's going to be a multi-year process. But I think engaging the community and engaging council in determining what the priorities are, and maybe we do put it back out to the public or offer some kind of information session about it. Or maybe we ask you to contact your counselor, state your priorities, which we can then kind of reflect back as we select the priorities. I don't know what that process is going to look like exactly, but we will have to do a prioritization. And that's generally how that has worked. Yeah.
So when we look at this,
So I think we're gonna stop there, Lisa. No, I think we are gonna wrap it up for tonight. But I'm gonna ask that maybe we could check on a presentation for June, if the group is still interested in doing that. Oh, it's already done? Okay, awesome. Because I think there's lots more to discuss. And, yeah.
No.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we could wait on that too, but I'd be willing to make a motion tonight, just that we ask that a letter be drafted to
Yeah.
the MLA and to the minister, advocating on behalf of the group and behalf of all residents of Richmond County.
Of the provincial park.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
order to ask that, you know, infrastructure needs be addressed.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's encouraging to see again going
Yeah.
into this news media release today that it is going in the right direction, but I would support that motion, yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna check in. So Deputy Warden has made a motion that council write a letter in support of the Pondville Beach Provincial Park, and it's been seconded by Councillor Sean Sampson. I wanna go back to you, Lisa. Is that something your group would kind of see in a positive light?
I think we were looking for a bit more than that. I think we're looking for 2 minutes of your time tonight.
So you've just had, we've doubled our question period, so we are gonna cut it off there. But would the letter be helpful to your cause? And then
The
follow up on
letter
your
is
presentation?
helpful to the cause.
Okay,
But
perfect.
but really, we need so much more from this council. And to be honest, I'm a little disappointed this evening. I have to be honest.
Okay.
The effort that has been put by this group to get to where we are today, it's truly disappointing that council cannot give 2 minutes.
So-
when the-
so
when
Lisa?
you're, no, this is conversation is happening because.
Absolutely.
Because we're here now to have it. And we really do feel that 2 minutes of your time is not too much to ask.
So I think we all recognize it's been about 20 minutes or more, right? So, actually, it's been well more than 20 minutes, closer to half an hour. I think we would agree with you, this is a bigger conversation. It's going to take us more than 2 minutes, and we want to work with you within the constraints that we have in terms of not owning the property, but we can advocate the heck out of this thing for you, and that's, I think, something that we want to join forces to do. So you've got a willing partner in the municipality, like to work on the draft with you together, and then come back in June with a regroup and see where we can go from there. And perhaps, you know, we could even ask the MLA if he would mind taking, working with us on that letter. I don't know what his position would be on that, but it's certainly worth an ask. Many voices, right?
So, Madam Warden, there is a motion on the
Yes,
floor, and
there
I
is.
had a question as well. So do we
Okay.
want to finish the motion first, or do we want to?
So the motion's been made and seconded, so if you have additional discussion on it?
Well, the additional discussion I would ask is, at this time, could we also request a letter from the province on the use of the land?
Okay, so maybe that's a separate question, and I might need to ask you what you mean on that a little bit, but at this point, maybe I'll ask for a vote on the existing.
Can I have a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask for a letter of detailed deficiencies as noted by your group to help craft the letter? So that
Okay.
we can speak to points with clarity?
We want to be speaking from the same song.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to work with the municipality as well as we can.
Great. Okay, so any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. And then, so this question you have about the property?
Right, so we've already explained to the people in the galley that in order for us to put mats down, or in order for us to use the property, we would require a letter from the province. And I know time is tough and time is close, so I'm just, I don't think it would hurt us to ask for a letter from the province if
Do you mean an authorization?
an authorization.
So I think we need to be able to say what we want, what we can afford to, to do there and what the plan is before we get that. I think.
Right, but I believe,
You know what I mean?
I agree, but I believe Lisa's going to provide us with a summary of what she's looking for, and maybe, and it's an ask at this point, it's
Oh,
not.
That doesn't mean that we're able to support all of the hours.
Right.
Oh, 100%, but it also means
so-
that it gets the wheel motion, it gets the wheels in motion to provide.
Yeah, I think part of that,
The Moby,
So-
I think part of that
Deputy Warden.
request, and part of that letter has to have that request in it,
Correct.
to move it.
They would be separate.
They would be separate
Well,
letters.
just indicating that we're gonna be looking for,
Yeah.
just to put it on the radar,
Yeah.
because there's no sense asking for a Moby mat
There's a,
and this
yeah.
and that, and not have it in a letter.
some of
right?
those things can only be supported with the lifeguard program, like MobiMat, for instance, they have to check those daily.
But maybe that letter of
So,
support
we gotta
is to look
start-
for lifeguards to be
Exactly.
positioned at that
Right.
beach, right? Like,
That would
you
be
have,
the
you
start.
can't put the cart before the horse, right?
Yeah.
Like, I agree with you, but maybe that's part of the advocacy piece, right?
Yeah.
Is to advocate, is to look for lifeguards at the beach.
Yeah.
Then we can do all the other part,
Yeah.
you know? I
Yeah,
mean, I think as a starting point, there is a ton of infrastructure to
yes.
And if it's
to
not a
Lisa's
lifeguard.
point, that needs to be addressed.
Again, but to the point, it doesn't mean it's gonna be a lifeguard and it's gonna be water activities, just to the point of, putting as much as the little doggy bag on the side.
Yeah.
We can't put it without the permission of the province,
So-
or the benches, so that anybody.
Why don't we ask staff to come back to us with some information on what that process is?
Great idea.
Yes.
Okay, because I think we need to better understand that. My understanding is there's an application form, but I think we need to just get that fleshed out. We'll ask staff to give us the information about what the process is and what's required before we can actually submit something. And then we'll know, one way or the other.
Now,
Okay?
Shannon, do we have any summer students that are allocated to Plumville Beach at all at this time? No? No, okay. Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
So, well, for the future, maybe if it's not a lifeguard situation, it's not a water recreation situation, maybe it's a, maybe it's a 14-week summer student. right?
Those are her decisions.
Yeah.
No, but maybe you put that request in, right?
Okay. So we're at time and then some, so I want to thank everyone for your patience this evening. And again, thanks to everyone in the gallery for coming out. I think this has been a productive discussion, and Lisa, thank you for leading the charge on this. There being no further business, we are going to adjourn the meeting. Thanks to the folks at Tell Ill for helping us out online and streaming.
Thanks, folks.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jan. Thanks, Sean.